Worlds Apart, Chapter 3. Kang Chul is meant to die. He's gone up to his terrace because the night is warm and clear, because he feels like it. The sound of a scuffing foot makes him turn around, and he stares at another shadow-faced attacker. He could have sworn the other guy was completely silent, though, and he can't see if this is a faceless person or not. Again, time hangs. Though he feels doom standing over him, can practically hear death thundering down on him, he refuses to believe it. He ignores the impulse to step forward and engage the attacker with his honed martial arts. He waits for a blow. He hears breaths, as if the person holding the knife ready to stab him is hesitating. "Who are you?" he asks. "Nobody," comes a surly answer. Both of them appear surprised to hear a voice because the attacker takes a step back. Chul closes his eyes and leans back into the balcony, waiting to hear more. But he doesn't. The next day, he goes into the hospital to meet children with a rare disease, benefactors of money he has donated to research, and he is thinking, as he steps through the doors single-mindedly, who is doing this? And he finds himself stepping into a hospital lobby where there are no children, no press, no bodyguard Doyun stepping ahead of him. While he stands, trying to grasp what is happening, he stares around. Something about this place is different from anywhere he's been before. People cross his path without noticing him. The floors are covered in scratches and scuffs, though kept clean, and there is a heaviness to the noise in the air that presses in on him. Then he hears his name said. When he looks to see who is talking about him, he sees... To be continued. Yeonju looked back at Supervisor Park so it didn't become obvious that she wasn't giving him her full attention. He was making a particularly dramatic face, and while stifling laughter, she lost her train of thought. When she glanced again, the familiar stranger was gone. Yeonju got a call from a panicked Subong that night. "It's not that he's drinking," he began, "but I think this counts as something you'd want to hear about. I don't know where your father is. I mean, he should still be in his office. There's no way he could have gone out without me seeing him. I was waiting for him to okay these spreads before going home. I was paying close attention, but his keys are gone, and worse, his tablet is too." After asking a few questions, Yeonju realized that Subong was not going to get any more coherent, so she headed to the studio. Subong was twitching when she arrived. She told him to sit down, just so he didn't break anything, and went through the rooms to check for her dad herself. Fresh soju bottles, one only half empty, stood on his nightstand. When she went into his workroom, the tablet was indeed taken from its spot, but not the computer. No theft here. Anyway, her dad's keys and wallet were gone, but a thief wouldn't have left behind his expensive iWatch as well, not when it was set out so temptingly on the desk. She sat down and moved the mouse to see if his browser history might have anything alarming in it. Her eye fell on the character boards hanging where they could be seen from the work table. They included reference photos with a final drawing by another artist her father commissioned to do naturalistic portraits once he'd finalized a character's look. It was the young man from earlier today. What a trip. She'd recognized him when she'd completely forgotten that picture. He had been pretty enough to be a model. She wondered if he... That was when a bloody hand reached out of the computer screen and grabbed her. She shrieked and fought, but found herself falling, as if through earth, into hell. He's gone up to his terrace because the night is warm and clear. No. Because he feels... No. He is here, again, and he turns before the shoe even scuffs, but he is too late. The man stabs him with certainty this time. No waiting, no debating. Chul falls in a messy heap, and the pain is so great he can't at first make himself hold the wound to stop the blood. As he forces himself to move, the pain insurmountable, he cries out, "You, the one doing this, save me!" To be continued. She landed in a heap, knocking one knee hard on concrete. She was on a rooftop somewhere, surrounded by the lights of the city. Her first thought when she painfully got to her feet was that it had to be a swank building. There were potted trees up here. Then she saw the body. The hand, outstretched, like the one that had, just in the kind of horror movie she never watched, reached out to seize her. It was him! Again! She raced over, adrenaline spiking at the sight of blood. Just like her dream. No, not just like. There he'd been shot, and here he was stabbed when she checked on him, choking from blood. His eyes were wide with terror, and she said, "Hold on." She raced to the door nearby, praying it went somewhere with people. She fumbled with her phone as she ran down the stairs, but the screen wouldn't come on, and with her hands shaking, it was no wonder. There was a door. 15th floor. Oh no. She ran in, found the elevator, punched the down button. She tried her phone again. Dead. No, no, no. One of the elevators must have been close. When she got in, the second floor was labeled Restaurant, Services, Lobby, Upper Floor. She held the button, wondering if hitting the emergency button would just stop the car. She couldn't risk losing a second. On the second floor, she raced past the clinking and clatter of the restaurant and into the kitchen. "Manager!" she screamed. "I need a manager!" A startled waitress set down a bowl, sloshing whatever was in it, but said, "What is it?" "Call an ambulance. There is a man bleeding to death from a stab wound on the roof." She seized a fillet knife, a bottle of hand sanitizer, and a pile of cloth napkins as she went back out. She was fortunate with the elevator, except that a couple was in front of her, and when she shouted, "Emergency, please, let me go, let me take it," they looked affronted. Then they saw she was holding a knife in bloodied hands and shoved each other out of her path. She held the button all the way to the roof, praying and cursing the whole way up, having to shout and close the door in the face of one startled hotel customer who had been waiting. On the roof, she wasn't sure if the man was still alive, but she still poured the sanitizer all over the knife in her hands, wiped them down. She tore open his shirt and sanitized his chest, then did what had to be done. She was mindless with adrenaline when the paramedics finally arrived, but got it together enough to give them a clear report on what she'd done, what she assumed had happened. Then she fished out a business card from the wallet in her coat pocket and told them if anyone needed to get in contact afterward to pass that on. She hugged herself tightly as they rushed him away. As they carried him on a stretcher board, she hoped desperately that the open eyes that seemed to look at her were not those of a dead man. She had not killed him. He was still alive, but for how long? Wondering what to do with herself, she looked around again, squinted at something shimmering at the edge of the railing there, and woke with a start in front of her father's computer monitor. She looked with a sense of unreality at the picture in front of her of a woman leaning over a bloody man. It had been a dream? Then she looked down at her hands. They were still covered in dried sanitizer and the last stubborn smears of blood. "I could get sued for malpractice for this," she muttered, if they really did pass on her business card. Then, before her eyes, the panel in front of her morphed into another image. Her looking after the paramedics on the rooftop, and she realized the shimmer she'd seen was just like these characters in the bottom corner, reversed. To be continued. She shuddered. Just then, Subong came in and screamed.